It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm Chris Janke and I'm joined today by Catherine Zidell. Catherine is a retired flight attendant turned fitness professional. She started training clients while still working for the airlines and decided to start her own training business in 1996. She's been competing in bodybuilding since then, and she turned professional with the International Federation of Bodybuilding at age 59, and she still competes at age 67. Catherine, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Chris, for having me.
So you're still competing?
Yes.
And what's that like? You're almost 70 years old and you're still competing as a professional bodybuilder.
I turned professional in 2014. When I started bodybuilding in the 90s, the professional status was very elusive. And they had just added master's classes at 30, which was women 35 and over and men 40 and over.
Okay.
They said, oh, you get to compete as a master's, my very first show. Master's classes were actually harder because the women had been doing it for a long time. But mind you, bodybuilding was not very popular.
It was very new you said you started in the 90s, right?
Yeah, 96 was my first show. I was 41.
Yeah.
I started lifting weights in my late 30s.
Awesome. I think you and I started lifting in 94. I was a little bit younger, but I started in 1994 lifting, been lifting ever since. So you're a flight attendant up until the 90s, and what got you to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I want to try something?
Actually, the competition is just goal setting. It's how it started out for health and fitness. Started with, I'll go ahead and say the name of the airline, was Southwest Airlines. If anyone looks back on the history, when we started out, we flew around Texas and it was only women flight attendants and we wore hot pants and boots. And so we had weight check every week and everybody had to be attractive and look good in their hot pants. It basically catered to the businessman commuter. And then low fares for people going around Texas on the nights and weekends. Always trying to stay on weight check in the 70s, the wrong way, not eating, drinking lots of coffee. So fast forward to the mid 80s, they got rid of weight check, and then they hired men, had different uniforms, but I did not like the way I felt. And we didn't have overnights at first. And when we did, I started I always was active growing up, riding horses. I've been riding horses my whole life and just always active and recreational. And I thought, I want to start running. I want to start trying to do some kind of structured workout, but it was the nutrition that I wanted to focus on. And so and this was in, like I said, probably about 1989. So I went to an internal medicine doctor and I said, I get low blood sugar. And I was thankful back then. He said, higher protein, 3 meals a day, 3 snacks. Nice. And immediately I started feeling better. And because I started feeling better, I think a lot of people, once they start a program and start feeling better, then they're motivated to continue doing what they're doing.
You see this much results from just a little change, and then you're like, if I make a big change, right, my whole life can transform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was very religious about just reading everything I could get my hands on about nutrition and how the body processes food and all the benefits and vitamins and supplements can do for you, which wasn't a lot of literature back then, but I already was into supplements. So I would get these magazines that advertised, that they'd have articles that they had researched. And so I just fell in love with how the body works and how it takes your fuel and supplements and vitamins and exercise to and then so when I started doing just weight training, like circuit training, then I got interested in free weights. I went to a little gym down the street from where I lived in my apartments. So I mean, that it just exploded. People back then were like, you're not putting sauce on this and you're not putting sugar on that. And so people started asking questions, and I just fell in love with the free weights. And so back when we didn't have microwaves, we didn't have refrigerator on the airplane, and we were traveling around the country this time, but I would try to find a gym wherever I went, pack my food for my whole 3-day trip. It would take me 20 minutes to start closing a suitcase. It would take me 2 hours to get all my supplements and my food ready that would last for 3 days. And this was in the early 90s, and nobody was doing that. So, and then, of course, my body started changing. I started developing muscle. We wore shorts and camp shirts and tennis shoes and going up and down the aisles and making PAs, and everybody would stop me and say, oh my gosh, your arms look great, or your legs look great, are you a runner, or what do you do? Or they'd go to the back and they'd see me eating. My flight attendants hated because I was back there eating all the time in the back galley. You're eating again? I've got to stay on. I just was so motivated. And then when you get in a routine, and I think a lot of people, I know my clients, when I just beg them to follow, I can't do this, just follow this you'd be surprised. It only takes 7 to 10 days, at the longest 2 weeks. And they always come back and say, oh my God, you're right. I can't wait for that next little meal. They've been starving themselves at Weight Watchers, right?
So this is, Weight Watchers, oh God. So this is really good. I like giving people that little tips like this. So what you tell your clients to do for 7 to 10 days, you already mentioned more protein. This is what your doctor told you, more protein, and then 3 meals plus 3 snacks. How has that evolved over the last couple of decades? What do you tell your clients now? Come on, please, just try this for 7 to 10 days. What's that information?
Well, first, what I do is I ask them which makes them mind conscious. I go, okay, you want to change, but I know that everyone is not going to be the 3 meals, 3 snacks. You don't go from 0 to 60, A to Z. I look at the fact that I'm asking them to change their lifestyle, and meal prepping or thinking about your meals and planning when you're going to eat takes time that they have not experienced. Even if it's a few minutes out of the day, it has to be a schedule. And so I ask them to write down what you've been eating. And then I take it, but it also tells me what do they like. But I give them a general and say, but they sometimes want to be specific. Can you give me a diet? Well, some people like fish, some people like chicken, some people, you want it to be a lifestyle. It's what do you like? And then as long as you have for your body this much protein at each of your main meals and 2 snacks, and here's a list of things you can choose from, then you can devise your own. And so, but I give them a sample, and they come back and they say, and it's not even I'm not even asking as much as the 3 meals and 3 snacks. Because you can't go take somebody who's not eating all day long and eats 1 big meal, eat all day long. They're going to go, oh no, I'm too full, I can't do that.
Right.
They just look at it on paper and go, oh wait a minute, that's way too much.
Actually, personally, it took me probably 3 years of knowing what type of meal plan I wanted to eat. It took me 3 years to actually get to that point, because I would make one little change, I would get used to it for a while, make little adjustments, make one more little change, and after 3 years, finally I got to that point where I was eating consistently. I actually, this is a good segue, because I wanted to ask you about this. You just mentioned somebody who eats just one meal, big meal a day. Really popular now is intermittent fasting, and I have the same response that I think you just
As I roll my eyes.
You just rolled your eyes. I don't know. Intermittent fasting and keto are the two big ones.
I think keto is the old Atkins anyway, which I tell people they just renamed the diet.
Right.
And I said, that's all it is. It's just the old Atkins. And I say that was invented by a doctor for people who are extremely obese and diabetic and have epilepsy. Actually, if you look at it, or they can't work out. I said, how do they lose weight? And it was still, if you research it, with short term, you aren't supposed to stay on a low or no carb diet. And then I also tell them it takes, you need 50 grams of carbs for your brain to function.
Right.
Now, I even have some athlete friends that swear that they build muscle on keto, they've gotten used to it. But we know that there's the physiology, and that's what I tell my clients, and they get so interested. Then I apply it to how the body actually works for every person. Carbs are your first fuel source. The body uses those carbs in your blood, in your muscles. Then it goes to protein in your blood, and then in your muscles, and then it goes to fat. So why would you want to eat fat specifically?
Right. In huge quantities.
It just, the body's not designed.
Plus you have, I think I tell all my clients, I say, eat like a bodybuilder. Take what the 300-pound guy does and just chop it in half, but do the same thing, like your carbs, protein, and fat.
Well, and find what works for you. Like you took some time, if you had a basic plan.
Yes.
And then you tweak it to your liking and how you see your body responds.
Right.
And so what I do is guide those people along that path, but I give them structure, but I also give them flexibility, because that's the only way it's going to work. It has to be a lifestyle. That's how I adopted my lifestyle. It becomes a way of life. I can't even imagine not ever. I know by looking at my food how many ounces I still weigh it. It's a habit. I meal prep. It's a habit. Do I go out to eat occasionally? Yes. But I don't like the way I feel after I do. So I don't do it very often. And I'll see it in the way I feel the next day, or my workout, or just the way I slept that night. And so I tell my clients, you'll get to that point where your body will start telling you.
Yeah.
You don't need someone to tell.
Yeah.
But I know you need direction to start. And it's so funny, they'll come back 8% of the time. This is so much food. Yes, I know. Try just to get the 3 meals, and even if you get 1 or 2 snacks, do that for me. And if you get 3/4 of this in, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Then they come back. I said, but time it, set a little timer. You need to eat every 3 hours. No more than 4 hours should go by. They'll come back. I swear not. It's usually only a week later saying, oh my God, you're right. I am so hungry for that next meal. And they never even ate breakfast. And they're telling me at the beginning, I'm sorry, I'm sick. I just get sick to myself. I cannot eat breakfast. Please, please, please. And just don't drink your coffee, because then you really won't want to eat.
Then you don't want breakfast.
If you want coffee, you can have it after you eat.
Sure. Good idea.
Because it takes away your appetite. They're also excited to find out all of this stuff, and they get intrigued as well. Oh, that's how the body works. Oh, coffee takes away your appetite. Oh, I need to eat more to lose weight.
It's so, that last one you just said, I need to eat more to lose weight, I think is the most empowering, because you mentioned Weight Watchers earlier. We talked about keto, we talked about intermittent fasting. All these other things are very restrictive. And again, eat like a bodybuilder, eat every 3 hours, eat large amounts of protein, not like crazy, but this much protein. You have
Mhm.
you have a little salad, you have some vegetable, and you have some carbs. And then of course there's fat in there, because you get fat in the protein and everything.
'Cause I
And
get
it's
asked,
like,
what about that? You
there's
get
fat
plenty of
every
fat in your food, yes.
there's fat everywhere.
Even in your vegetables. They're like, "What?" Yes.
So, and it's just like, if you just put one of those meals down, I bet if you just went to your kitchen and got one of your meals and we looked at it, it's just like a common sense meal, right?
Well, I
Versus,
say cut your plate in thirds.
yeah, it's not gimmicky. It's just common sense. And then of course you're going to burn through that. And like you said, 3 hours, perfect. It's
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
you don't want to eat in an hour. That seems too fast. You don't want to eat in
mhm.
8 hours. Like, why would you go 8 hours without eating? That
Well,
just
that
doesn't.
goes with that's why I rolled my eyes with the intermittent fasting. I don't know about you, but I don't know that I've met anybody that's had success with that. They might lose weight, just like keto. They might lose weight initially, but then they go crazy on their carbs and they
Mhm.
overeat. And or I'm intermittent fasting and they're saving up for some big, food fest. You know, I'm going to break my fast. Oh, well,
Right.
I said, so you slow down your metabolism. Your thyroid has stopped or slowed down to protect. I said, we're like cave people. Our bodies are designed and still that way today as it was when we had to fight and hunt for our food.
Right.
And if there wasn't any food to survive, our bodies slowed down and didn't burn any fat. It burned muscle and whatever carbs were left, but it didn't burn because we can survive for, days and days on body
Yep. 9 grams or 9 calories per gram. And that's one thing
fat.
that's the first thing I'll tell somebody who's really into keto. I say, you know, for every gram of
I'd
fat,
be
you're
the
getting
same.
9 calories as
I was
opposed to
like, so
4.
how is that working for you?
Right.
I said, your carbs hold water. We know
Yeah.
that. And that's a whole nother variable when people go, oh my God, I'm gaining weight. Your body's adjusting. I'm having you drink more water. You're eating carbs. Your body holds on to carbs. It will pan out, but they're like, oh, I've lost weight when I go keto. Yes, you've lost water
And you've
weight.
lost
I
muscle
lost
too.
10 pounds in one
Yeah.
week. I was like, first of all, that's physiologically impossible. They've
Right.
proven the most you can lose is 2 pounds a week of body.
And it
You're
is it
not
is
losing.
water weight. So this is a good segue. Talk about carb cycling a little bit, because I think carb cycling is one of the best things that bodybuilders do. Is you never let your body get used to one, like, flat line.
I've done both, getting ready for competition. I've experimented with both, and both work. Um, but now the trick is when we say carb cycling, people think they need to go very low carbs and then
Yeah.
add carbs low. I don't.
Yeah. You don't
I
need to
say
go that
no.
low.
Carbs are still in my diet. What I do is I get a basic going and I cut my calories like that. What is it? It takes 3,500 calories a week to lose 1 pound of fat.
Right.
You cut that, you divide that over the week. That's not very many calories a day if you're working out already and burning above your maintenance because you're working out. So you just take away I'd like to take it away first in the carbs because you don't want to sacrifice protein. And that's how
Right.
the carb cycling starts. And then in the initial stages, maybe a refeed with a cheat meal. I don't like cheat meals, like per se, where people go out and eat pizza and burgers
Right.
and fries and stuff. I've never done that, just as I'm on the health side. Just
Yeah. Yeah. Because then that does that
healthy.
yo-yo thing, and you're
Well,
going
I'm
back and
just
forth.
used to eating healthy. It's just nothing that appeals to me. Maybe birthday cake once a year,
Right.
but so then when you're starting to make changes. So then you don't want to change one variable at a time. So you'll add a little bit of cardio. Let's say you're starting at 20 minutes, you bump it up 10 extra minutes on those cardio days. And then from the carbs and then the cardio, so that when you're that's how you're tricking your body to eventually always be letting go of the body fat and hopefully hanging on to as much as you can. Now, when we get closer to competition, the body's going to resist getting down to a very low percentage of body fat.
Yeah.
And but if you eat consistently, the consistency is the key. I think that should be said in the beginning of all this, that find what works for you and being consistent.
Yeah.
And you have to do all three. You have to, the nutrition has to be consistent. You have to train. You have to do your cardio. You can't leave out one of those variables and achieve the success of building or maintaining muscle and losing body and being healthy. So it goes that way all the way to competition. And then I think probably when the body is not wanting to change is when the more advanced carb cycling comes in, where so you've already been gradually reducing, and you never want to reduce your carbs like first thing in the morning or after your workout. That's when your body needs the
carbs is right after. Yeah, first thing in the morning and after your workout, because
when you're less likely to overproduce insulin and then it just goes straight to your muscles and hopefully not to body fat. You're going to utilize that for recovery. And you've been fasting, and this intermittent fasting, we're all fasting. We fast at 8, well, overnight for 8 hours. That's a long time without food. And we're still burning calories at night. It's like, you eat at night? You eat a meal at night? I said, I've gotten super lean getting up in the middle of the night and eating a meal.
Right.
You know, it's still calories in, calories out.
Yeah.
But I do believe to trick the body when you do hit a plateau and carb cycle, that kind of really ignites a fire to, oh, okay, so you're giving me extra carbs when you've taken it away for a couple of days, and then you add your maintenance back in, the body says, oh, just like we talked about where the thyroid slows down, but then it'll metabolism and everything will pick up when there's a refeed, because the body says, oh, there is food, there is plenty of food. I can burn fat and I don't have to burn muscle.
Right.
So I think that's how carb cycling, that's the theory behind when people are getting ready for shows. But the competition, I originally did because I probably take everything to competition with my horses. But for me, it was just goals. Hey, I want to do that. And then I liked the process. And then what I liked is, if I want to be that work, then what can I do to be better? So then the next 6 months, I'm back to still doing my program. I'm just eating more calories and doing little less cardio. And so it becomes a lifestyle. So everybody's like, how long can you compete? Keep doing this for your body. And I was like, then I had one lifespan doctor telling me when I was, before I turned 50, he says, you'll probably have to stop this in your 50s. When you turn 50. And then I turned 50, I went through menopause. I was like, I didn't even feel the change, probably because of my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's what he surmised. It's probably just because, and even though I went some time without having a cycle because my body, like runners or extreme athlete women, your body fat's low, but then it comes back. But
very low body fat.
But so I don't think yes, maybe the hormones were changing, but I didn't feel the effects because our clean eating, our lifestyle makes you sleep better, makes you feel good during the day. So probably instead, way better than taking drugs or hormone replacement. The jury's still out on hormone replacement. So whether everybody thinks I think people go for that because they feel so.
Yeah.
Not because they're, oh, I think I need hormones.
Right.
They go to the doctor because you feel bad.
You want to feel better.
And then they said, and it's my name. They say, oh, you need your hormone. And I was like, So anyway, he quit saying that after 50. He goes, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah. Which was 17 years ago. Catherine, this has been a great conversation. Again, you're 67 years old, still competing as a professional bodybuilder. How do people get in touch with you? Because I think there'd be a lot of people who are going through, like you said, menopause, or just getting a little bit older and want to feel healthy. And you're obviously
men and women are always asking me questions, and that's how I got started when I was flying. People were asking so many questions back then, but especially now. My website is being redone. It is on my Facebook, but it's not up yet again. So my Facebook is, I don't have the link to it, but it's Catherine with a Catherine page, middle name Zidell, Zidell. And on Instagram, it's just C Zidell.
Perfect. Okay. Nice. Everybody go check out Catherine's website, or website under construction, Facebook, Instagram, get in touch with you. Thank you again for sharing your knowledge, and that's a fascinating story, and congratulations for being in the game this long. This is pretty incredible.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.